Hi everyone, this is Amir with ArsenalMod and I'm here to demo our new Xbox One S Remap board. We have it right here on this side and I've already opened the controller to go through how you would install our board. So let's get into it. First you take apart the controller to this point. There's many videos already available on how to do that. I'll include it in the description below. Once you get to this point, you could disconnect the motors if you'd like by desoldering them. In this case, I'm just gonna flip it up, just a little easier for the demo purposes. Then you have access to the bottom board. So on the bottom board is where you're going to install our Remap board here. So our Remap board simply overlays over the Xbox PCB, like so. And let's zoom in here so you can take a better look. So once you have it overlaid, there's test points that are labeled, as you can see. So these correspond to what's on the Xbox board. So TP20 here, for example, you see that point there on the Xbox board. So you're going to overlay this such that you could just solder the board straight onto the Xbox PCB. What you want to do is make sure you scrape off any of the coating on the board beforehand. So you scrape off for all the labeled connections on the board. You could ignore these connections on the side. These are not necessary in this case. And then there's going to be a few connections for the top board, LJ, RJ, and TP41. So those are going to be for the top ones. You could ignore TP67 and TP69, I believe. TP68. So 7 TP68 can be ignored. Those are for what was our rapid fire mod, but it's since been disabled. So this is strictly for remapping. So you're going to overlay this and you're going to solder on all the test points that are labeled and then also this top one. So you see this antenna wire. This is going to go underneath the board and you solder on this connection at the top. I would recommend first soldering all the TP connections and maybe do like TP25 and then TP14 just so you have it in place first. And then once you have it in place, you carefully solder all the rest that are needed. And then you would then switch to the top board. So the top board, you need to follow my little sticky note here, and I'll include this in the description. TP41 is the B button, RJ is the joystick connection, and LJ is the joystick connection. So let's go to that next. So now we're at the bottom board here, and I simply flipped it over so it was like this during our install. So when it's installed, it's put back like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to solder RJ to the connection I'm going to show you right here. This point here. So you see TP71 label over here, just diagonal to that, you're going to solder the wire here. So that's one connection. The other connection is TP41, which is the B button. That's over here. TP41 goes to TP41 that's labeled on the board. You see it over here. Then we're going to move on to the next joystick. So now we'll go through the LJ connection. The LJ connection on the controller is right here. So it's going to be that corner pad. And that will go to the LJ connection that's labeled right over here. Right there. So you just need one wire. So 3 wires in total that go to the top board. And you should be all set. Another thing I want to go through is our new button. We actually switched over from our old buttons to our new one. This one here is a little longer and it is a little smaller in size. So people have been complaining that they couldn't get the old ones through the case. They really had to line it up really close. So with this new one, it's a little, I guess, easier to install. So that's why we switched over. We had a lot of good user feedback on this button. And let's put that here. And it's going to be connected the same way like our old board. So you're going to have one connection diagonal to each other. So you're going to have one connection here, for example. Let me focus that. And then the other connection diagonal to that. So let me focus this again. The one connection here, and then the other one would be here, for example. And if you have a multimeter, you just ohm it out for if you want to use like side-by-side connections. But what you do is basically you connect one leg to T1 to T3, sorry, T2, T3, T4 over here. So you see 1, 3, 4, and 2. And then the other leg will go to the grounds that correspond to them. So they're right below those buttons. Okay. Another thing to note, so this connection is actually ground. So after you solder all the test points, you want to solder that little part here on top to that part, and that's ground. You could also use another ground pad on the bottom board, for example. This is also ground, so if you want to use that instead, you could do that if you find it easier. And that should help you out. So all in all, it's somewhat of a involved install because you have to solder the test points on the bottom board. So do it carefully. Once you have those in, it's just 3 wires and you should be all set. So we estimate in our experience round for novices half an hour to 1 hour of install time. It could vary, so it depends on how good you are with the soldering iron. If you have any questions, you could always email us, info@arsenalmod.com, and we try to respond as soon as possible. So just don't lose your patience. Email us, wait for a response. When we reply, then you could continue with your mod if you get stuck. Thank you. So take care.